Hi families, hi fifth graders. All right, I am getting messages from families and students about our essay, our explanatory essay. So it's due today if you are on track, okay? So that means if you're ahead, you work ahead, or you're behind, it's not going to be due today. But if you are on track and you've never been late and you never went ahead, it should be today. Even if it doesn't show up in your planner today, please pay attention to this. Everybody will have it at some point. It's Unit 14, Lesson 3. This is my planner. I have the pacing of what you should be doing every single day. This is where you should be. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to open my lesson. And then here is Miss Conley. When you see me, you have to stop. Okay, let's go over this together. So it says, stop, read this. In fifth grade, you will be responsible for writing a 5-paragraph essay. Or if you see Mrs. Scott, if Mrs. Scott is your teacher as well as me, then you do 4. Okay, so if you are not with Mrs. Scott, then you do the 5. That means you have an introduction paragraph. You have 3 body paragraphs, and then you have a conclusion. Okay, 5. Intro, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. If you're with Mrs. Scott, that means you are going to have 4. Introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Okay? Pay attention to that, please. So when you get into the part next week, when it's Unit 15, Lesson 3, it should be 1 week from this date of when you do this assignment. You will have to copy and paste your introduction, and then you're going to be doing your body paragraphs. So if you're just in my homeroom, then you do 3 body paragraphs. You'll copy paste, put your intro in there again, so I can make sure your body paragraphs match your intro. And if you're in Mrs. Scott's, you'll do the same, but it'll say your introduction, and underneath that, you'll put your 2 body paragraphs. And then there's going to be a spot for a 3rd paragraph because I didn't make it unique to only her students. So when you get to that extra one and you're like, wait, there's 3 here. Miss Conley said I only do 2 body paragraphs. When you get to that 3rd empty spot, so you don't get graded down, just put skip, because I know that you will only be doing 4. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the rest of this. So your topics have been assigned to you. You get to pick one. What would life be like without technology? What role does technology play in today's classrooms? What are the pros and cons of technology used for entertainment? So if you choose the first 2, you're going to have the typical introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and conclusion. But if you do the pros and the cons, it's going to look a little bit different. We talked about it today in our live lesson. We watched a video on it. Intro paragraph, and then the first body paragraph will be about the pros. Second body paragraph will be about the cons. The 3rd body paragraph will be about the pros and cons. You're comparing them. And then you would have your 5th paragraph. Okay, that would be your conclusion. All right. You will be turning in your first part of essay. That is for today, Unit 14, Lesson 3. Yes, I got to double check my numbers. Unit 14, Lesson 3, that's what I'm talking about right now. You will click on the Google document template, okay? It will look like this. Oops, let me get over to this one, sorry. This is what it looks like. It's yellow. You're not turning this in. This is for you to keep everything in one place. This is my introduction. It even says Unit 14, Lesson 3. This is where you're going to do your work. This is my example. I color coded it. I don't want you color coding. This was for me to show you an example, okay? So what do we need to have in an introduction paragraph? Right over here, this little checklist is what you need. All right, so you need a hook, and that's like a pinkish red. Here's my hook. Start your paragraph out strong. You can start with an interesting statement. You can start with a question. So here's mine. Imagine waking up one morning and your phone, TV, and computer no longer worked. Okay? Now I've already hooked my reader. Now I need background information. Please don't make these long. You don't need to do any research for your introduction. You really don't. The internet is gone. Even the microwave doesn't turn on. Technology today is such a big part of our everyday life, and we depend on it for nearly everything. That's your background. I'm done. And then my next one says, state your thesis. That's your focus statement. That's what your whole essay is about. Life without technology today. That's what I chose. That's my thesis statement. That's what I need. And then I'm going to add in my 3 supporting reasons. I need to have my reasons. 3. If you're with Mrs. Scott, you have 2 reasons, okay? So life without technology today, that's my thesis. And if you have the same topic, you're going to have that. But this is where you would plug in your thesis statement. Okay, remember, there's 3 of them right up here. If you chose the second one, what role does technology play in today's classroom? You would write that right here. And then you would add your 3 reasons why. Okay, so the reasons I chose for life without technology, I said life without technology today, and I want it in one whole sentence. If you can't make it all one sentence, you need to make it very clear and concise your 3 reasons right after your thesis statement. It's really a formula I'm giving you. And if you use my formula, it will help you advance through all of these papers that you will be making for the next year, even into middle school, high school, college. You can, when you're more advanced with your writing skills and experience, then you can mix it all up. But you're just starting. And it's easier if you follow the formula. So let me get back on track here. Life without technology today, that's the thesis, would force people to be more hands-on. That's reason 1. Reason 2, it would force people to be more social, and daily tasks would take longer. Okay, those are my 3 reasons. So when I come down to this paragraph for the next week's assignment, paragraph 1 for my body, I'm going to be taking this. This is my first reason. And I'm going to copy paste. Control C. And I go down here and I click Control V. Okay? That is my first sentence. There's something I need to do. It says here on my checklist, a transition word. Transition words are words that tell the reader, hey, I'm going to tell you something super important. Here's my point, okay? So it can be as easy as, first, oops, I have all caps in. Let me change that. Firstly, okay? I can say firstly, I'm going to put just first. First, life without technology today would force people to be more hands-on. So, boom, I am done with this part right here. Okay, I'm done with that. And look at this. I have my thesis. I already put my thesis plus my reason already in there. I'm already done with part of that. I'm going to go ahead and gray that out so I know I'm done. Now I need evidence. I need 2 examples, okay? Now this is where you can do some research, and you could go online and you could look up how is life, how can the world without technology force people to be more hands-on a long time ago? And then it'll give you all these different examples, okay? And so then I could add my sentences here. You need at least 2 extra sentences, maybe even 3, okay? Stretch it out a little bit. I'm really looking for at least 4 to 5 sentences for each body paragraph, okay? Because if you have your first sentence, which is your transition, comma, that's the very first thing. Put your transition with a comma, then your thesis statement with your reason. That's 1 sentence. Now, I need my pieces of evidence in there. So 1 to 2 sentences per evidence, okay? So what kind of examples could I write about being more hands-on? Well, an example I could talk about is that in the, people would be forced to, let's say, in school, they would be forced to read more. They would have to write their papers, like physically write, their handwriting skills would improve. So that's hands-on, where they're actually doing stuff hands-on, okay? And I would type that out. Another way people are more hands-on, I would give another example to that, okay? So I wanted to make sure you understood this part right here. Let me get back here. So I gave you an introduction. I told you about what the introduction is going to be like. I set it up for you. I have given you an example down here, okay? Now, I want to show you, this breaks down right here, but that's also in my checklist, okay? But this right here, this is where you get your essay template. It's going to force you to make a copy, and you make a copy. If for some reason it says you need permission, you need to make sure every student here at LCA has a Google account. I set out directions on how to do that. If you didn't take care of that in the beginning of the year, please go back to your emails, because I have given everybody the directions. I will even pull this up. This is on my Padlet. And let me see here. I need to somehow stretch this out so I can move the cursor. Okay, here. If you go over here, okay, my face is in the way. Right here, how-tos. How to download Google, oh, that's Google Doc, but hold on. Right here. How to access your Scholars Google Drive. If you don't have your Google Drive, every student has it. Right here. And then when you do this, then you'll have access, and you're not going to have to ask permission, because then when you click on that link right here, when you click on this link, it's going to force you to make a copy, and then it's going to open up something like this. It is yours now forever, and you don't have to save it because it's automatically saved in Google Drive. And when you close it out, you just go back to your Google Drive and you can access it. It's wonderful. So everything is saved, okay? You don't have to keep opening it and starting over, okay? So I hope this helps. That's what you're going to be doing for the intro. When you get to the next one, next week, it's going to ask you to put your introduction in there. I'm going to give you feedback. Make sure you make those changes. And then you're going to copy, paste, put that in. And then you're going to do your individual paragraphs that relate back to your reasons. Each one of these paragraphs, you have 3 reasons to support your thesis. And then each one of these paragraphs will be about those reasons. You need 2 pieces of examples or evidence to support it. And then, and I don't think I have it. There we go. We're excited. You can go down here and you can type in your emails your website addresses that you've used, okay? Easy peasy. If you need more help, schedule a time to work with me, and I would be happy to talk to you more about it. And I have recordings on this, so please go back and watch the recordings as well. Make sure you read the directions, okay? Thank you so much. Have a great day. Happy writing.